today because we want to publicise the fact that this study that has been commissioned by the EPA to study fracking is actually being taken over by the oil and gas industry. There are two companies that are heavily involved with the industry, and they're actually carrying out the study, with the Irish universities having a very minor role indeed. And in fact, they are preparing the way for fracking. They're looking at regulations. They're not looking at policy at all. We certainly want it to be known that this study is discredited. And no matter what happens, nobody can possibly stand by it and say that this is the truth. We know that the people that are carrying it out are biased. There is no way a company working for fracking can possibly be part of a report that says that it's against fracking. Fracking is an appalling industry. It's becoming more and more obvious that whereas with a lot of effort you can get some gas or oil out of the ground, it's very short-lived and it leaves a legacy of both environmental and human health damage. So it is not to be allowed in Ireland. It could do huge harm to our tourism and agriculture industries. There's no review of the impacts of human health, and the only reference to health is that the role of the health impact assessment in regulation is going to be looked at. That's not looking at health at all, that's just looking at regulation. And if you look at the main contractors, CDM Smith is the main contractor. It's a service provider to the oil and gas industry, working with Marathon Oil and very deeply involved. And so is AMEC, another main contractor. And they have clients all over the oil and gas industry, including BP, Shell and ExxonMobil. And they are carrying out the bulk of the study. We have two demands here today. We call on the government to stop this study and to cancel all the supplementary tenders. This study is not fit for purpose. Why are we proceeding with it? And we also call for a review of the public health impacts, such as they did in New York. And that review, because it was independent and it was careful, they came to the conclusion at the end of it that fracking should not be allowed in New York State. And the next stage in that legislation is proceeding as we speak to strengthen the ban in New York. And hopefully, by doing such a thing, we will do similarly in Ireland.
In Ireland International, we're moving more and more to look at concrete stuff, like keeping fossil fuels in the ground and ramping up community ownership of the alternatives, of both whether that's energy efficiency or renewables. That's where the fight now is, where the front line of the fight against climate change now is, and we hope it's one that more and more people can resonate with more people than paragraph 10 of the international agreement or clause 4 of a climate change bill. And in that spirit, the big march has been planned in Ireland before the Paris summit in 4 weeks' time. It's not headlined as, you know, we want a fair deal in Paris. It's headlined as we want climate justice for both those affected by climate change, whether they're workers here in peat factories or people in Bangladesh. We want community energy and we want a carbon-free future. And banning fracking is one of the demands of that march on 29th of November in Dublin. And we hope therefore those affected by fracking in Ireland, and the threat of fracking, will join with the wider climate movement to make those points to government at that march, and we hope to be lockstep with you into the future as these questions are resolved in the next year or two.
Well, firstly, we should be aiming the next 20, 30 years to make our homes so energy efficient with the new systems we have in place that we don't need to heat it. But if we do, it makes much more sense to use electric heating, because that will help us balance the electricity supply we have and we need. So that's the clever way of heating our homes, not burning gas. Lastly, in industry, the IFA and others have done a study, and they looked at the potential. What's the potential if we went in for even a modest amount of getting gas from natural sources, anaerobic digestion? If we took 5% of the slurry from our cattle, sheep, pig industry, if we took 75%, which we should be doing, it makes economic sense, of the poultry slurry, if we took 25% of our organic municipal waste, and half of the slaughter waste we have, and this is solving a waste problem. Well, if we did that, and other countries are doing this, isn't pie in the sky stuff, this is absolutely doable, we could provide for 1/3 of our current gas use. So we're taking away electricity, which is 2/3. Even if you didn't improve a single home, we still have in our own agricultural farming resources the ability to develop 1/3 of the gas that meets all those industrial and domestic needs. We do not need to frack. We can switch on opportunity for Irish farming in actually developing a natural biogas instead. And if we frack, that might kill it. The Department of Finance believe that, the Department of Enterprise believe that, and too many people believe that at the core. They think that the alternative is more expensive. And that's why maybe our shortcomings want to concentrate on the economic and security arguments, because that understanding in the Department of Finance and Enterprise and elsewhere needs to be challenged. That's the heart of the question you have to answer. Do we want a fossil-free, or fossil future, or a non-fossil future? And the system, the big companies, the big departments here, still think fossils are competitive. They don't realise that that's history and we should switch away from it. That's your problem. It's in the core of our system. People don't believe in the alternative.